The Teraflex 2.5-inch Performance Budget Boost Kit is for those of you that have a 2007 and up 2-door or 4-door JK that are looking to add 2.5 inches of lift that will allow you to run a 33-inch tire or even up to a 35-inch tire if you plan on staying on the road and aren't looking for quite as much articulation. If you are going to be running something smaller than a 33-inch tire, you can probably get away with no lift or just a leveling kit, but really 2.5 inches of lift is perfect for a 33-inch tire. This kit is available in 3 different configurations, and what I have in front of me here is the version without shock extensions and of course without shocks either. If you plan on running your factory shocks to save a little bit of money, you can get this kit with those shock extensions, which essentially just make that shock a little bit longer to accommodate your 2.5 inches of lift, or you can go with the kit that includes a set of Teraflex 9500 shocks, which are going to be longer than those factory shocks to give you even more performance out of your lift kit. So again, a couple of different configurations. They are going to be different prices and they are going to provide different amounts of performance. This kit here without the shocks or shock extensions is really going to be for those of you that want to run an aftermarket shock that isn't that Teraflex shock. If you want to run a Foxy, Bilstein, a King, really any other shock out there that's designed for 2.5 inches of lift, this is going to be the kit to go with. This kit is going to be very complete. It is going to be a spacer kit. So it is going to take pretty much the same amount of effort and hours to install as a spring kit. I'm going to give this a 1 out of 3 wrench install, bolts right in place, but probably 2 hours or more to install. However, you're not going to get quite as much performance from a budget boost or a spacer kit like this as you would with a coil spring kit. Now, the spacers that are going to be installed above the coil springs on your JK mean that the springs themselves will go into coil bind a little bit sooner than they would otherwise. What coil bind is when the coils of the spring actually touch, which can cause some damage over time. To help avoid that, this kit does come with bump stop extensions in both the front and the rear. Now, what all of that means together is you're not going to get quite as much up travel with this kit as you would with a coil spring kit, where your bump stops are only there to keep the tires out of the body. So this is going to be less expensive than a coil spring kit, but also not quite as much performance. So if you're going to be running some more mild fire trails, if you're not really going out and wheeling every single weekend, you're looking more to run a set of 33s, have the Jeep look good on the street, then I think this is going to be a great kit that will save you some money. Now, like I said, this kit is going to be pretty complete, and we'll go over the components that you see here on the table. You are going to have your coil spring spacers for both the front and the rear of the Jeep, and that's what's going to provide you with that 2.5 inches of lift. In order to support that, you have the rest of these pieces. These are going to be the bump stop extensions that I mentioned before, the fronts and the rears. They are going to bolt right in place, and that's going to help keep your coil springs from going into coil bind, and of course help to keep your tires out of the body as well. Here you're going to have some brake line extension brackets. That's going to help to move the brake lines down a little bit so that you're not going to pull a brake line taut when you're articulating with your new higher suspension. Over here you have a rear track bar bracket. Now, this isn't going to be the beefiest track bar bracket that's offered by Teraflex, but it'll still get the job done. And over here you'll have a new longer set of sway bar end links. Now, these sway bar end links are really designed for the back of the Jeep so that you can move the factory rear end links up to the front, giving you the proper length sway bar end links all the way around. So like I said, this is a 2 out of 3 wrench install, very similar to any other lift kit that you would install. Even though this is just spacers and not coil springs, you have to go through pretty much the same steps and the same work to get them installed, and give yourself 2 to 3 hours to get this installed, depending on what you have access to. Of course, if you have a lift and air tools or power tools, this is going to go a lot faster. You can certainly do this on jack stands in your driveway, laying on your back with some hand tools, and get the job done. It's just going to take a little bit longer. Now, the steps in this installation are going to be jacking up the Jeep, supporting it by the frame, removing the tires, and then removing or loosening anything that keeps the axles from completely drooping. That's going to be your sway bar end links, your shocks, your brake lines, and your track bars. Once all of that stuff is removed or loosened, you can sag that axle down, which will allow you to remove the springs. Once the springs are out, you can pop your spacers in place above them, reinstall the springs, and then as you're going through the installation, depending on which kit you are installing, you'll either install a new set of longer shocks, those Teraflex shocks, or the factory shocks with shock extensions. Then as you continue to bolt everything together, you'll install your bump stop extensions, your longer sway bar end links, brake line brackets, and your track bar bracket. The 3 different kits that Teraflex offers are going to range anywhere from $350 to about $520, and that does depend on whether you're getting this kit without shocks or extensions, the kit with the extensions, or the kit with the shocks. Now, in general, Teraflex makes a very high quality product. This is a very complete kit, and it's going to be a less expensive way of lifting your Jeep than a coil spring kit. So if you're looking for a budget boost style kit, I really like these ones from Teraflex. And you can find it right here at ExtremeTerrain.com.